This is Drink Talk, where we try to solve the world's problems one drink at a time. Each week in this podcast, the topics of today and tomorrow are discussed while we sample some of the finest libations known to man. Join us. We are your hosts, Brian and Britt.
Check us out. All right.
Oh, well, you cut that off quick.
I did. Well, I was ready. I was ready to go. Why not?
I wasn't, because I still don't have the video up. That's all right. So,
Brian, slam.
Slam. Da, 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 da. Nice. This is a beer I am really excited about. It's been the talk of some of the...
It's the talk of the town right now.
Oh, man, it is. It's... well, first of all, why don't you explain where you got it, and I'm going to get things set up here on my end.
Not a problem. This is the Bells Hopslam Mini Keg. I was very interested about this when it came out because I have had Hopslam before, and I'm a big fan of it. So when I saw that they came out with the mini keg, I'm like, what a perfect opportunity to have this on the show. Well, somebody posted on social media on the Nebraska Brew Crew page that it was available over in Council Bluffs. So in the darkness of night, I quickly ran over there because they made that post, 15, 20 minutes prior to me seeing it. And I had to get my hands on one of these kegs.
Nice.
And so
it's a mini keg now.
Yeah, it's a mini keg.
For those that cannot see it.
Yeah.
It's a 5-liter keg.
So I fly over there, and I go over there, and I'm looking up and down the aisles, and they had one sitting by the register. I was like, is that your last one? And they're like, yes, it is this last one. And so I was able to get the last one over there at the Mall of the Bluffs, Hy-Vee. And I was very proud of myself that I finally got my hands on one.
Nice.
It was so cool. Yeah, literally the next 2-3 days after, everyone was popping up like, hey, we got the kegs, we got the bottles, we got the kegs here in Nebraska. I'm like, oh, man, I could have just waited.
Right. Well, and I do want to talk a little bit about where it comes from and all that. So this is from Bells, while you're tapping it there.
Yeah.
It comes from Bells Brewing Company out of... Now, when I looked it up, they started in Kalamazoo, Michigan, but I was out at Growler USA the other day, and some of their beers, they had a different city in Michigan. Suffice to say, they are a Michigan brewery. Started in 1985, and they brew this Hopslam only one time a year. It's only available in January and February, which is why it's a very limited release and why people are clamoring to get it. It's a 10% alcohol by volume. Again, we have the 5-liter mini keg here. And they recommend it in to drink in a snifter, which is like those tulip glasses, as I call it. That's a lot of head, Britt.
Well, we could definitely do the tulip glasses. I could have swore that I had some, or at least one.
You have a lot of stemware up there, so I'm sure you can find something.
Got one.
There you go. Yeah, that's what they recommend. In this beer, there are 6 different types of hops that are actually brewed in there, all from the Pacific Northwest, and then they do a Simcoe that they use in the dry hopping, which is after they've brewed it and in the fermentation pot. They also brew it with a little bit of honey, and good glasses, yeah. nice work. People are just losing their minds over this beer. I have not had it yet. This is going to be my first foray into Hopslam, so I'm really excited. For what people are saying on the groups, our Nebraska Brew Crew and just people in general all over social media are just losing their minds over this beer.
There we go. That looks a lot better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that. It's very clear, so filtered, and it's kind of a golden. I wouldn't say quite amber, but it's a golden color. Kind of a good foam head on there.
Well, I found that if you turn this very slightly, like it's just dribbling out, it tends to not foam over. But the more you turn it, the more foam or head that you get on your cup.
Do you need this under there? Is that going to drip on your counter?
Should be just fine. It's actually got a good on-off mechanism to it. I know that people who are watching live here can see how I opened up the top, and you could clearly hear it on the mics when it opened up and released. And then this thing just pulls forward and out, and then it's just a turn handle. You just turn it to it to the left.
I almost took a sip without clinking. Sorry.
Right. Hang on a second. Here, let me get
stuff out of the way.
Get ready here.
Clinky. Cheers.
This has been sitting in my fridge for a few days.
Yeah, not curing. Right?
Well, I'm surprised I just didn't tap into it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we would have had enough. That is so. It's a very hop forward, both in flavor and in the smell. It's not a smooth beer, but it is very drinkable. It's very hop if you like the smell and taste of hops, this is your beer.
It's hops all the way.
Yeah.
Double IPA with honey.
And I taste that like on the after you let it sit for a minute. If like once you've actually swallowed it and you kind of breathe, you can get that the honey notes in your mouth there.
Yeah, that's nice. I'm glad I bought the keg.
Yep. They Bells Brewing Company actually started distributing in Nebraska just in 2016, so it's a relatively new here in Nebraska. But over in the Mall of Bluffs where you got it over in Iowa, I'm sure they've had it for a little bit longer. I did want to do a shout out to their website, to Bells Brewing Company's website. Very informative. If you noticed all the information that I had on this particular beer, that's all straight from their website. They had a ton of information, and
they've been around for a little while.
1985, yeah. So they're 32 years, 33 years.
I think
almost.
they've got it figured out.
Yeah, nice. they do. Yeah, well done, Bells. Well done.
Well, and the only other time I've seen like kegs like this, I believe that. What's that beer that everyone drinks?
There's a Heineken.
Heineken, thank you. That everyone drinks. I don't know anyone that drinks.
We did talk about the distributorship of it. It's very, very high.
But yeah, that was the only other time I've seen a mini keg like this.
Right. Well, and the reason they brew it once a year is because they want you to drink this as fresh as possible. So they just don't want it sitting on a shelf somewhere. And since it's only available for 2 months a year, stuff flies off the shelf.
It does. I know that right down the street at Spirit World, he posted a picture that they got, a pallet, literally a pallet of the 6-packs, and then I think they got 3 or 4 kegs or something like that. I went in there, I think a day later or 2 days later, and the pallet only had 8 6-packs left on it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Good job.
Well done.
Well done. Sell through that stuff.
Yeah. You want to say any more about the beer? Or you want to move on to the top?
I don't know. This is good stuff.
This is really good.
Like I said, yesterday.
You shouldn't drink this if this is going to be your first jump into IPAs.
No.
Don't start with this. This is something that you have had to be a seasoned IPA drinker to do. It is very hop forward.
Well, I think that goes for any double IPA out there. I think that if you're going to start by drinking IPAs, I don't think that you would want to jump right into a double IPA for your first IPA.
Very true. Very true.
Seasoned drinkers only.
And at 10%, it's a pretty potent.
It'll get your job done.
It'll get it done. That's for sure. All right. Well, along with this Hopslam, let's talk about the Media Slam.
Right.
That's the talk tonight. So
yeah, when I was what was it, Wednesday or Tuesday I called you, something like that. That's when I was on my way to get this thing.
I think it was Tuesday.
I think I just had picked it up and I was all like, Brian, I know what we're talking about. And Media Slam.
Yep. So what do we mean by Media Slam? Well, this kind of harkens back to our fake news talks.
Absolutely
that we did. We did a two-part
We'll
series.
talk a little bit about fake news. I'm sure we will.
And I'm sure that some of the topics that we talked in those will come up during this podcast. So we might repeat ourselves a little bit.
It's essentially, the way that the news is delivered to you. The news is
not just the news. I mean,
and social media and just
media
in general.
Yeah.
How everything is given to you and laid out in the way that. What am I trying to say?
I don't know.
If they have an agenda, there we go. Boom. If they have an agenda, they're only going to give you this type of news,
Right.
So,
excuse me, pardon me. I do want to talk a little bit about some of the problems that are associated with things that we consume, which is kind of where you were heading on there. And the reason for this is because media really helps form public opinion. The way that we think is all massaged by the media. And I hate to say people don't think for themselves, but I mean, it's just we consume all this information, and that's how we form our opinions.
There are a few people out there that think for themselves.
Yeah, and I would hope.
And those are the people that I watch on YouTube.
Well, so what do we mean by media? We kind of touched on it a little bit. It's print, it's broadcast, it's shows, movies, it's the internet stuff. There are 6 conglomerates. Kind of. Let me break this down a little bit, and this is something we talked about in the fake news, that control about 90% of the media that you see. You've got Comcast, which is the biggest, Disney, Time Warner, CBS and Viacom, and 21st Century Fox. Now, CBS and Viacom are now controlled by one entity called National Amusements, and 21st Century Fox just got bought by Disney.
Yep.
So now, really, there are four media conglomerates that control everything that you see.
We watch.
90% of what you see, whether that's internet, whether that's broadcast, which is your TV news, print media, both digital print. So if you're going to WashingtonPost.com, the articles that you see, that is print, or newspaper, magazines, that all that
and
media.
If you don't think they don't have an agenda, you are wrong.
Well, that's part of the big problem is these companies. Everybody has their own opinion, and a company's no different. They're just going to have their own.
Well, what benefits them?
Right, exactly. What's going to get the most clicks probably online?
Clickbait.
Absolutely. Which gets us into how did we get here? How did we get to this point where the media is
fake news,
and can't be trusted as much as they once were?
Because they're trying to get their ratings up,
right,
make their numbers,
or their bias. They have their target audience that is leaning one way or the other. Usually, it's a liberal leaning. There's a lot of liberal leaning media outlets, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, even with that said, I was going to bring up the fact of let's just say it, Trump bashing. I will say that SNL has gotten so good at Trump bashing, and back when Obama was in office, don't get me wrong, they did the whole Obama thing, but it wasn't so much so funny or hurting on him as it is now.
Right.
Yeah. There's so much hatred.
They
love to hate.
Yeah, they do. They do love to hate. I think the news should be news. Like there shouldn't be a slant towards it. But
and it also shouldn't be their opinion.
Right. Exactly.
Because once it's their opinion, it becomes bias.
Opinion columns are different. I mean, if you put it in an opinion column, then fine, whatever. That's your. But
when I turn on the news, CNN, NBC. Whatever news source it is, they should just be telling me the news. Right. And I will make a decision whether I like it or not.
Right. And I actually, and it's unfortunate that you have to watch both sides, where I tend to look at media outlets that both agree with my political opinion and disagree with my political opinion, just so I can make an informed decision on things. Because there's always going to be two sides to things, but when you're talking the news should be facts. So just lay it out there and let the people form their own opinion. But apparently we're not doing that. They try and tell you what your opinion should be.
I was watching this little thing about back when the presidents, or not the presidents, but the people were running for presidency. Right. And they had Bernie Sanders on CNN. That or Fox News. It was one of those two. And he came on, and instead of listening to him talk about how he's going to change things and make things better, they were asking him questions about Hillary and how he felt about them. It's like, no, this man is here running for presidency, and he should get the word out on what he's trying to do, what he's trying to accomplish, what he's going for. But here he is talking about his opponent and asking him how he feels about it. It's like, no, this is the wrong type of way of getting news.
And to some degree, you want to hear what their opinion is going to be, because you're not going to be able to find out exactly how they're going to react in every single situation. But if you can find out their baseline on certain subjects or whatever, then you can find out how that person may or may not react in a certain situation. So I agree with finding out an opinion, maybe not specifically about that.
Okay. Let's just, for instance, back when I used to swim, the person in the next lane to me was my enemy. Mm-hmm. And when we got back out of the water after we did our swim thing and whoever won, well, that's actually Tony. He's my good friend, know. But he's enemy number one when I'm running up against him.
It's kind of like the WWF, or now WWE. Those guys hang out because who else are they going to hang out with, really?
Absolutely.
So they all hang out together. It's just when they're in the ring, though, your opponents. Kind of like in the political theater, when you're running against somebody, of course you're going to attack them because you want to win. But, who else do politicians hang out with? I know they hobnob with certain people, but who else do politicians hang out with?
I mean, everyone's seen the pictures of the Clintons hanging out with the Trumps. They're friends. But when they're running against each other, I wouldn't say they're friends at that moment.
Right? Oh yeah, absolutely not. I do want to bring up that quote, and I brought it up during the one of the fake news episodes from Denzel Washington, and he was being asked why his opinions were so negative against the media, and what he said to them was that the media has gotten so good at being first. Not that they're right, but that you've been.
If they can
first.
just get the news out, get the news out, and 1 out of 3 stories was right. Well, hey, I was first on that one. So
when you can see it in your own newsfeed, everybody's got those friends that they post news articles. Oh, I got to notify the world on this. I want to be the first person to tell everybody, so I'm going to post it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I've had friends that post stuff that's kind of jarring. You read and you're like, wow, really? And then you look down, it's like from The Onion, and you're like, really?
Yeah.
Check your sources, man. The Onion's a fake news, a satire news site.
If you want to go off of social media, there's really only one guy that I get my news from. His last name's Smitty. Yeah. And he's
getting something with Schmitty?
something like that. Anyway, he's Bubs. That's one of Bubs' old buddies.
Nice.
And he really puts out some news articles and dives deep into research on things. And just things that make you go, and then he'll throw it out, 2, 3, 4 weeks after something comes out, and it's like polar opposite of what they're saying, and it's just all like, oh, well, here's the real facts, and it's that small story that was in the newspaper on the 18th page, and it was this big, and you didn't read it because you read the front page,
which I like. I really enjoy the conversation, the back and forth of two opposing opinions. Just because you think that way, A, why do you think that way, and B, is there another way, another side of the story that we can argue or converse about? And I really I enjoy those type of things, but we have gotten away from that. It's the media just saying, no, this is how you should think.
And I remember back in the day when I used to read the newspaper, there was a page where there was just these little snippet articles, and it was like a who, what, when, where, why kind of thing, and it was like per state, and I don't know, do they still do that? But it was just these neat little articles about what was going on in every state, and it was just
so yes,
it was just like random
in the newspaper. They have a little blurb, and they have like the regional, and then so they have like the Midwest, what's happening in the states around it, and then there's the around the world. They have those little snippets where it's like a paragraph, like maybe 3 or 4 sentences.
Just neat little stories that you would never see the news ever do. Yeah. And when I say the news, I mean watching it on TV.
Right.
And
this is in the newspaper because I know old school newspapers, old school. There's still something to be said about like holding a newspaper and reading it because they're very
made it into the newspaper.
I know people still say that. I saw you in the newspaper. That's super cool. And people still find that piece of media like it's nostalgic for some, but also if it's in the newspaper, more than likely it's also going to be online too. So it's got two versions.
Absolutely.
One online, so it's another media outlet for them. So it works. But also, newspapers are getting smaller, especially here in Omaha. We just moved down, like nationwide. Everything, all the nuyspapers are smaller in the nation. And Omaha still had a pretty big newspaper. Now we've got another smaller one.
I had lunch with Mom and Dad. Brought Guyver along and stuff, and we actually brought up. I always tell Dad what we're going to be doing on the show, and we were just talking about that sort of thing, and he's like, I remember the Sunday paper being pretty darn heavy.
Oh man, yeah.
And especially around Christmas time. Especially around Christmas time, it got even heavier. But he said the Sunday paper nowadays is just
like a Monday through
flimsy.
Friday.
Yeah, it's just Monday through Friday paper.
Yeah, and because they've gone to a smaller format, and that creates less real estate. So to actually make it into the newspaper, that's got to be a pretty big, well vetted article, hopefully. Yeah. So they same with like newspaper or not newspaper. Same with magazines. There's a limited amount of real estate that goes into these things, so you've got to have be highly a highly sought after article or to be worthy of actual print. So there's something to be said about that. I do want to get into some approval ratings.
Well, I also before we get away from the newspaper, I'd like to talk about how the media can skew things so well that they can take one article in the newspaper that clearly wraps everything up and turn it into like 3 articles or 5 articles just because of things that were said in there, and then they write their own story about that sort of thing. And I just think that's BS. Because that article was fine the way it was. It gave you all the information you needed, but then you wanted to give your point of view on it.
Well, now there's something to be said about that, because one of the I want to wait till later and how we solve this and get into that. But
That's fine.
I do want to talk about that later in the program. Since we're still on how did we get there, I want to talk a little bit about approval ratings, and these statistics actually come from Gallup. This is pulled from their website, and unfortunately, the newest statistics that we have are from 2015. They don't have anything from 16 and 17. Obviously, is too close to measure what the public opinion is. But I doubt that it's better. I don't know, but we'll go through it here. So the first one.
Can you really trust a Gallup poll?
So, yeah, there's the thing. I mean, polls can be skewed. You can say, well, statistics are statistics. Yes, but...
Well, here's the thing. Our sister used to work for Gallup, and she would...
it really doesn't matter, but yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter, but I was saying we have some inside information on how Gallup works. Erica would like to do the polls on...
Alcohol.
Beer and drinking, because everybody wanted to sit there and be like, oh, yeah, actually, I have an opinion about this, because it's an interesting topic. Heck, we've got a whole show based around that sort of thing. But then when she'd do other things like, what type of milk do you drink? Like, nobody want to take those, and it resorted down to her really talking to people, a.k.a., old people that had nothing to do, that sat around and still had a house phone that rang. So that is the polls that are getting took. So it's a really biased poll, because they're not getting polls from. I guess that you could ask the age, but they're still going to make a poll about whatever information that they can obtain.
That's part of it. Is you got to get your age groups and your demographics and your political affiliations and all that. And they do try.
Yeah. And if they called me, I'd be like, yeah, I'll take a survey, whatever. But
and these things, I think they said on average they're anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 people in the survey, so they're getting a good section, but still only 1,000 to 1,500 people, which doesn't give you the whole swath of what the nation's feeling. So there is.
When was the last time we actually took population count? I mean, it was 300 million people here in the United States, but that was like, what was that, 2009?
I don't know that. They probably only do it every handful of years. I don't remember when the last one was.
Yeah, I can't remember that either. But
still, yeah. So there is a margin of error, and I think
1,000 people out of 300 million,
and you can still get a fairly decent mix of people in that 1,000 people. But so the margin of error, I believe, is like a 3%. But really, when you see these numbers, you're like, 3% isn't really going to matter a whole lot.
If you get about 8 people per big city of every state, I guess, I don't know. That would be a general consensus.
Yes, John, I have a little message from the viewing audience here. He said you get better statistics on horse races. Well, and also and football, baseball, but yeah, if you look at sports, how many people are actually taking statistics on one game? I mean, it's
even what is it? Contour TV by Cox Cable is now doing statistics on the fly, so you could have your baseball game, basketball game, whatever on over here, and there's a whole statistics lineup on the side. So that's like sports is its own category.
Oh yeah. Well, and look at how big money is for that. So these are huge. These are volunteers that are offering opinions. So when it comes to the types of media, the newspaper, the television news, and news on the internet, it peaked. The American confidence in the media peaked right around, at least from 1993. So we're talking 20.
So 1993, they were like, "Oh yeah, no, this is good stuff."
Yeah, so almost 25 years ago. No, this is the start. Is 1993.
Gotcha.
But it peaked right around 2000, 2001, and I'm guessing that had a lot to do with
9/11,
September 11th. I'm guessing. So then, right after 2003, which is when we went into Iraq. For Operation Iraqi Freedom, which, the weapons of mass destruction that were never found and all that, it just plummeted. It peaked a little bit in 2006, but then it's like it's a little peaks and valleys, but mostly the valleys. It just keeps on going down. And right now, newspapers still are the most.
There's so many different ways you can get your media nowadays. I mean, you can get your media from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, online, YouTube. There's Reddit. I mean, there's so many different ways and avenues you can get your news besides actually watching a news network or picking up a piece of paper.
Right, and there are pluses and minuses to each one of those.
Yeah, because a lot of it could get skewed.
And actually, if you look at like TV and newspaper, actually, there's a lot of peaks and valleys. It comes and goes. But like if you look at the internet news, and that statistic only goes back to 1999, like the highest confidence was like 21%, and then it just gradually went down, and now it's at like 18%. It's just, and I think that's probably even worse today, just because of all the fake news stuff and what happened with Facebook and the Twitter. And I did it. I'm old now, apparently, because I called it the Twitter.
The Twitter, the tweet thing.
Yeah. The American trust in the mass media, really, it really hasn't fluctuated a whole lot. Started in 1997, it's about 53%. Great deal of trust, and then in 2015 we're at like 32%. So that it did dip down considerably in 2003, right when we went into.
So I'm going to be completely biased right now. So
go ahead.
If you're still watching CNN, shame on you.
I would say Fox News, CNN, NPR. Those are completely different categories of people.
Now with you, I like watching Fox News. I think they are more Republican than anything. But there's a news group on there. There's 4 people that get together. One of those guys on that group of 4, and I'll remain nameless on these. He hits it spot on for me. I'm like, yes. Mm-hmm. No, I agree. So with, I guess, all of this being said that we're talking about here, watch what fits you, Mm-hmm. Don't watch what fits everyone.
Well, to that, like I said before, I enjoy watching the other side.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Because
I like looking on the other side of the coin.
Right.
When somebody says, this is what happened, I go, is it now? Is it really what happened?
That's what you're telling me. What about this other side?
What about the other side?
Yeah. And they may say the exact same thing.
Or two sides to the story. Yeah. There's always 2 sides to the story.
Right. And it may be similar. Yeah. Or it may be like, well, yeah, it that did happen, but here's why it happened.
Right. This man has never taken his child to school ever. And he's like, well, actually, I'm homeschooling him. He's probably smarter than the rest. It's like you don't see that other side of the story.
Right. Since you did bring up the political bias and all that, this is the trust in mass media by party. And, of course, the Democrats have a higher trust in the mass media, mainly because I would say, and this is my opinion, that most of the mass media out there, or a higher percentage of mass media out there, would be liberal or Democrat leaning.
Sure.
That I think anybody could come to that fair conclusion.
Where is the money coming from?
Right. Well, I don't know, but
no, that's what I'm saying is where does the money come? So if somebody is, I'm not going to say crowdfunding, but if somebody is funding that media organization, they're going to go, whatever she says or whatever he says, they're going to do that.
Right. Well, and what's funny is, like, if you look at, like, independents obviously are the next, and then Republican trust in the mass media is like 14%. It's like nothing. There's like 14% of the people actually, Republicans actually trust the media, whereas 51%, or about half of Democrats say, yeah, we trust in the media. So that's a huge disparity. You're talking 35%, roughly 36% of difference between there.
Give me those percentage points again.
Okay, so this is as of 2015, 2016, roughly.
Sorry, I was clearing something from my throat, and I was all thinking about my throat, and I didn't listen to the numbers.
Okay, before I actually give you the numbers, I do want to state that Democrats across the board, since 1997 when the survey started, have always been the highest. Independents have always been in the middle, and then Republicans have always been the lowest. Trust in the media. Always. Like, no matter how the peaks and valleys fall, they independents and Republicans tied in 2011. Other than that, then everything else was there's 3 separate lines, and they almost never intersect.
Gotcha. So the Democrats are high, and the Republicans are low, and watching and saying that the news is accurate.
Trust in they trust in the mass media. So the Democrats are 51%, or about half. Because, again, there's about a 3% margin of error in this. So it could be 48% or it could be 54%. So about half. And then Republicans excuse me, are 14%.
Okay, so let's just say it how it is. CNN is Democrat and Fox News is Republican. It is. I mean, it's a true story. They don't come out and say it. They don't say it, but we all know it. We all know that that's the case. It's funny that the Democrats, trust in the news more than the Republicans, because my mind just went to the scene where it was the Gulf War, and CNN was doing this thing, and you heard air raid sirens going off, and the guy's like wearing a helmet, and they're like, the air raid siren goes off, and they're like getting down low, and the trees are blowing and stuff. That was all just filmed on a set. That was all. They weren't even like they pretended or acted like or made you assume that they were there. No, they were never ever remotely. They were in, the studio number 37.
Right. I do want to touch back here. John had mentioned another comment here, and he said that he was homeschooled. I don't think Britt was saying anything negative.
No, not negative. Not negative. I was just saying they skew stories of that nature. Like, why have you never put your child in school before? It's like, no, I homeschool my child, and it's a good thing. It's no big deal. But they only gave you the one side, how bad of a father he is because you didn't put him in public school.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
The last one, the last statistic that I have here is the trust in mass media by age. This is a pretty interesting one. What would you think the age group? There are 2 age groups here: 18 to 49, and then 50 and older. Which one has more trust in the mass media?
Probably the older people.
Yep, you're right.
Because the younger generation starts to get to know that sort of stuff.
But it's pretty close.
But but hey, I got the answer right.
You
bing,
did.
Bing, bing.
Well, and actually, it did flip flop back in like 2003, 2004 timeframe. It did flip flop a little bit there, but by age, 50 and older, only 38%. Again, 3% margin of error. Only 38% of people 50 and older have trust in the mass media, whereas 26% of the 18 to 49-year-olds have trust in the mass media. So really, you're talking less than a quarter of the people. That even on the high end, even if the margin of error, you're talking 29%. Not even a third.
So what's the newspaper? 25 cents? 35 cents?
Are you kidding me?
So $1.50 now?
I think for the Monday through Friday, probably
$1.50.
Yeah,
because it used to be 25 cents. I remember that.
You're old.
Well, I guess. Yeah. Well, and Sunday was $1. Because it was a lot more newspaper.
Right.
But I like free media. Now granted, I pay for my internet usage, so yes, I guess it's not free, but I like going to like freethoughtproject.com, where they're just free. It's the news, and we're gonna give it to you, and it's the real deal news. If you like it, great. If you don't, see you later. But with the newspaper, I've got to pay for it. I don't want to pay for my news. Just give it to me.
You can get it. Well, and you can get that. You can get that newspaper information online. Usually, they have a website for that. Like here in Omaha, we have the World Herald, but if you go online, it's omaha.com. You can get the exact same stuff, and actually, you can get more. You can get more up to date things on their website because it's harder to go to print.
Well, one thing I enjoyed viewing, and they've come out with many episodes, is Zeitgeist. The first time I talked to Pops about this, he's all like, "Oh, there's an agenda there and all that sort of stuff." And I was like,
but they bring up some interesting things.
But if I was paying for it. Mm-hmm. Yes, then yes, it's completely biased because money is being funded somewhere, and they're going to cater to that sort of people. But they weren't asking for money; they were just putting this information out there and say, "Hey, take it as it is. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't."
You can have things funded like that by people. that they aren't asking for money, but they're certainly receiving money.
Okay. I guess, yeah. All right. Sure.
So, yeah.
But they're releasing full-length feature 3-hour shows.
I'm not saying anything negative about it. I'm just saying that you can have somebody that might have an agenda that wants to fund something like this. That says, here you go, you can produce this.
Well, I consider them with Zeitgeist is looking on the other side of the coin.
Right. Well,
that's them.
Like I said, I'm not saying anything negative about them, and they actually bring up a lot of really
I mean, they cover the gamut of
actually
banks and 9/11.
The only negative
government
thing, the only negative thing that I would say about them is each episode is like 3 hours long.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You really, I mean, you might fall asleep before you really get into it.
Right. Yep. So what can we infer?
But they are good to watch. Check them out, Zeitgeist, any of them.
Yeah. And if you don't know how to spell it, we don't even know. It's like ZEIT. So yeah,
Zeitgeist.
Google it and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So what can we infer from this information? What I found interesting. So the approval rating or the trust in the mass media, I told you, Britt, was for 50 and older is 38%, and for 18 to 49, it's 26%. And that was from 2016. Do you know what currently, and this is as of today, do you know what the approval rating of the President of the United States is right now? Again, there's a margin of error, but...
of the people that like him and dislike him?
The people that like him. What's the approval rating?
31%.
Pretty darn close. 38.8. So with the margin of error, I think there's approximately a 3% margin of error. So it could be anywhere from 35 to 41%. But if you put that into the trust in the mass media, that pretty much ties with the 50 and older. But really, the people that are 49 and younger trust the media less than the approval rating of the President of the United States. And you can see in the mass media right now.
And with that said, the president has come out and said, fake news, fake news, fake news, fake news.
Which I actually don't agree with him on that one. I think that lends too much credence, and he needs to butt out, because you're going to get a little too close to fascism at that point, because or state-run media, I should say. You're going to get too close to the state or the government taking over media at that point, because... Well, okay, he labeled us as fake news, and now nobody's watching us, and people are going away. Well, we still need news, so I caution against that, and that leads me into my next one.
I agree with that. I'll agree with that. I mean,
we don't want to dismiss the media like entirely.
No.
We can't do that. We need information. We need people that hold the president and all of our constituents and all the politicians. We need somebody to hold them accountable.
You remember before Fox News and CNN and all that, and you just got your news at 5 o'clock
like a local,
and 7 a.m.
Yeah.
That's when you got your news. 5 o'clock and 7 a.m.
Yeah. Something I didn't, other than I did mention broadcast, but that would also include radio, because I listen to a lot of talk radio. Right. So and we didn't mention
Glenn Beck show.
Well, I was
or things of that nature.
Yeah, there's a lot of, even NPR is on the radio too. So
sure.
Which has a huge budget, by the way, and does have a little slant to it, but whatever, So, but yeah, again, I do
NPR.
I do caution against just dismissing the media outright, because if we didn't have the media, or if we had a state-run media, that is something that the government could use to their advantage.
Oh, absolutely.
A huge advantage. Do you really want a state-run media? No, thank you.
Because, people, I hate to say this, but some, not all, some people are followers. So if they say jump, they're going to jump. And if they say this is right, you're going to go, well, they said it's right, so that's right,
Well, and we try and stay away from politics on this podcast, but I do want to get a little political here, just because it does pertain to the media. And you had mentioned it before, with the media jumping all over President Trump, which is fine. I want the media to hold them accountable. I don't want them agreeing with 100% of what they say.
No, I agree.
They shouldn't hold them up and say, oh, look at this. Oh, yeah, we know that he did this. We're not going to cover that, but yeah, we know he said that. But I want them holding him accountable. But if you look at the difference between Obama and Trump, and they are completely different presidents, I will give you that. But they did not, the coverage of Obama, just the tone of it was completely different than Trump. And I understand that people's opinion of Trump is completely different than what Obama is. I understand that. But in the media's eyes, Obama could do no wrong and Trump can do no right. So there are things that he is doing right. The coverage where's the coverage of the black unemployment is the lowest in history. Yeah. You don't hear about
the stock
that.
market's at an all-time high.
Right. The NASDAQ is at an all-time high. I mean, you don't hear about those things.
Job creations.
Yeah. Does he say some stupid stuff?
Yeah,
absolutely.
He does.
If he could just shut up, on Twitter, please, somebody, PR department, quit hanging out down at the pub. Could you grab his Twitter account and moderate that?
Right.
Seriously? Now, that being said, I do agree with the fact, and it did start with Obama. He did have a lot of, when he ran for president, he had a lot of his staffing was using Twitter and all that.
Let's just say this. In the last 10 years, last 11 years, it was right when 9/11 happened, or after 9/11 happened, right at the end of Bush administration, going right into Obama administration. So I would, like I said, 11, 12 years, something like that. Media has just gone through the roof. Through the roof. You can find anything, anywhere, everywhere, all the time.
Well, to be a media outlet.
The internet's grown. It is what it is.
Honestly, we could be considered a media outlet if you really wanted
absolutely.
to.
We cover great stories.
I know a lot of people that they're sold.
But we are biased. It is our opinions.
It is. And we never claim to be.
So if you like our opinions, hey, keep listening to us.
We are not political pundits.
No.
But I will guarantee you that we try and do as much research as possible for the things that we put out there.
Yeah. I am not for or against this whole talk about media. It's just, we're just going to put it out there, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
Well, and as much as you could say, well, podcasts fall under broadcast media. Well, you're right, but we're not regulated, and we're not under a governing body like they are.
Would you consider the news an entertainment source?
I would. Entertainment in the fact that if it's
not like we're watching ETV and we're talking about the movie stars.
No, but I see where you're going with this.
Would you consider the news a entertainment news source?
Yes, and here's why.
Perfect. I'm glad you agree with me.
Cops.
Okay.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Yeah, that is like a documentary show, reality TV following cops. Which is kind of like news. I mean, it's stuff happening in real time that's against the law.
So you just brought up something in my head, and it just clicked like that, because you know what's on Amazon Prime right now? Because, that's what we got. Mm-hmm. Unsolved Mysteries.
I love that show.
I love that show.
Yeah.
But
was it John Walsh? Is that?
That guy could tell me anything, and I go, "Yep, no, you're right," because your voice really carried the entire show of just how he spoke, and you believed everything. But
you know why he got?
Were they all real? Was everything they put on Unsolved Mysteries actually a real story, or was it? Hey, we've kind of run out of stuff. Let's throw this one in until we come up with another one.
I think there's enough cold case files and unsolved mysteries out there
that they could
that the potential of them just doing the show.
I thought it was a great show.
Absolutely, and you know why he got into that?
It's an entertainment show.
But do you know why he got into that?
Because of something happened in his family.
His son, was I think an unsolved mystery, which I believe, and I'm not 100%. I think it was John Walsh that was doing Unsolved Mysteries. I'm not 100% on that. Yeah. But, and again, Britt and I don't like doing research while we're on the program. But Britt's
that's fine. I'll pull it up real quick.
But anyway, he had a son die, and I think it was an unsolved mystery as to how that all happened, or he was murdered, and that was how it all happened. And that's how I don't know if they approached him because of that, or he came up with I don't know that part of it. But I do know that there was some tragedy in his life. Lost his son, and so that was kind of the catalyst of him being the host, whether he either A, came up with the idea, or B, they approached him because of what had happened in his life. That still lends some credence to him in doing this, and I would think that they would, as a show, have enough material out there. I think there's enough cold cases and all that. Is that right?
So Robert Stack was the original one,
but
then after him was
John Walsh.
I believe John Walsh.
Okay. All right. So then, John Walsh didn't create it then. They may have approached him. Yeah. So back to
that guy, the middle one.
Oh yeah, there he is. So I want to get back to like if we dismiss the media altogether, what happens? And to me, there's two things that happen.
I mean, I still turn on the TV and I still check both CNN and Fox News. I kind of bounce back and forth. Who's got the better story? Who's not on commercial break right now? You know, like I do that.
Yeah. Hi, Chris.
What up?
So anyway, he missed some of the good talk. So you're gonna have to go, Chris. You're gonna have to go back a little bit. He just joined us, so you're gonna have to go back.
Rewind.
A little bit. Yeah, you're gonna have to.
But this is live, so you can't rewind until later.
Yeah. But so what happens when you do away with media totally, or the first thing that happens is you get an uninformed population. Not what you want. You want an informed population. Politicians and the president are not held accountable.
Hold on, shooting star. The more you know.
The more you know. Yes. It could lead to a state-run media. Which we talked about.
We don't want to do that.
Which state-run media allows control over us, which could bring us into fascism. And I know that gets thrown out a lot lately, and I think a lot of
they tell us what to believe. That's what they. That's a good way of saying it. They tell us what to believe.
They do now.
Yeah,
really. I mean, it's their opinion, and they're throwing it out there and saying this is how you should think, because they don't think that Americans can think for themselves.
What?
Huh? Who?
What?
Where?
Just kidding.
Who am I? But yeah, the potential that fascism gets thrown out a lot, and I think a lot of it is BS as to what they bring out. But the potential is very real. If the trust in the media goes so far down, and the state says, or the government says, we need to take control of it, and now we have a state-run media, now they can do whatever they want, and no, you can't cover that. No, you can't cover that either. No, you can't cover that either. Then the potential of fascism, where you have control over the populace, which is what fascism is, that's very real. Because they're not only putting out media or stories that highlight them in a good light, they're squashing stuff that puts them in the bad light.
Who is the lady that speaks for the president in the interview room?
Yeah, the press secretary. I forget her name.
Hucklebee's cousin, long distant cousin. I can't remember her name.
I would have never known that. But
anyway,
Mike Huckabee's cousin, really?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
if only we had a device.
She's got a lazy eye. We all know that.
Okay.
Anyway, I love her.
I don't have time to watch like the live.
No,
stuff
I
like
love
that,
her
so.
Because, we've gone through a few different press secretaries. Because Trump's putting it out there, and
a revolving door. For a while
it's. I think we're on our third one now, on our third press secretary, maybe fourth, something like that. Third or fourth, something like that.
There's a baker's dozen there.
I like the way she just stands right up to those media folk. She knows who's going to ask the real questions, and she knows who's going to ask the BS questions. And she just, when they ask that BS question, it's just like, you don't know who I am. And then she shuts them down. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, how come Playboy magazine gets to be in the third row in this little hearing of people? Why does Playboy magazine get third row, ask questions now because I'm up front?
You never read Playboy for the articles?
Oh yeah, that's what it was. That's what it is. Playboy for the articles. Okay, now it's starting to make sense to me. Now that you said that, that makes more sense to me. It's just funny because it was a week ago or something like that, and the Playboy editor or gatherer of information was up front and just was asking stupid questions, and like she just was shooting them down. It's like, dude, sit down.
Yeah, and there have been, and it's I don't know what it is if these people aren't trained right, but like there are times I'm watching a story and the questions that come out, like there's a mass shooting and you just escaped the place where they were shooting people and you made it through the crowd and you're safe, and you get a microphone stuck in your face and someone says,
how do you feel?
Are you effing kidding me right now?
Yeah. Can I get a gold glass of water first?
Yeah.
Maybe a bottle of vodka too?
Yeah. So, yeah. How do you think I feel?
Yeah.
I mean, really, honestly, could you come up with a worse question?
After I clean this mess up out of my pants.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Excuse me, I have to change everything here. I smell like poo.
Gross.
First you say it, then you do it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess is there was I was listening to a radio program. I'm not going to say which one, but somebody posed this question. I thought it was a very interesting question. The answer is no, but I mean, it's a very interesting question. Is there a trusted news source out there that you can go to, like one trusted news source that you can say, you know what, I can go here, and it doesn't matter the bias, it doesn't matter the affiliation, that I can get news on both sides, and it's in one place?
His name is Mark Dice, and he's on YouTube. He does things for Hillary. He does things for Trump. He's on both sides. He's a Democratic. He's a Republican. He just really, Mark Dice is just giving you the news.
How do you spell Dice? How do you spell it?
It's like Dice. Yeah,
okay.
Dice.
All right.
D-I-C-E.
I didn't know if it was a Y. Some of those guys are shifty. I don't know.
I like Mark Dice. He's and just the way he puts himself in the bottom corner and runs the news on in the front, and you just it's a 2-camera system. You know what I mean?
Right. I the two that I came up with, which are close but not really. So the Drudge Report is one of those, and I like it because yes, it does have a little bit of a slant, but there's so many different articles that you can go through, and it's just like a media data dump for that, which I kind of dig. I can pick and choose. The other one is Reddit, and I've mentioned Reddit before on that, and the reason
Reddit covers everything.
Yeah, they are,
and that's nice.
Now they are left leaning, which is the Drudge Report is conservative leaning, and Reddit is liberal leaning, and it's okay. That's fine. But here's what I love about Reddit.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Sure.
Digging the keg.
I know this is really cool. It makes it pouring beers easier.
Oh yeah, it's just like
but the reason I like Reddit is that it's kind of a collective mind where people are going to check out. There are people there with way too much time on your hands, and that's okay. But if there is a media article that comes out and people are like, holy crap, have you seen this? People are going to like try and validate and get sources and find out, is this real? Is this, yeah. And if it's not, that thing gets downvoted to oblivion. You're never going to see it. Also, you had mentioned like the comments and all that below articles. That is another thing that I love about Reddit, is that you could find an article and say, wow, this is messed up, man. And then you start looking in the comments and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, there's so much going on here that they didn't really even cover in the article.
Well,
and you'll get all the opinions.
It's just like buying something off Amazon. Make sure you check out the reviews.
Oh,
because if there's 37 reviews and they're all good, you're like, well, that all could be fake, you know?
Yeah.
Or there's, this product is 1 in 5 million. There's 4 reviews and they're all awesome. Well, hang on a second. But when it's a product that's been bought many times and there's 10,000 reviews, cool, check out the 1, 2, 3, and 4 stars, check those reviews out.
I'm buying these shoes. They said size 12. Are they going to fit me? Well, those size 12 it's a Chinese size 12, so not going to fit your feet.
Speaking of fitting sizes, I was talking to my wife. I was buying a pair of pants, right? I was just like, buying a pair of pants, not a big deal.
Britt, you want to come to the pants party?
Are you saying that there's a party in your pants and I'm invited? I bought a size pair of 30. I'm 33, 32. That's what I do. I'm just a little bit weird. I'm not 34. I'm not 32. I'm 33.
It's a fair
with 32. Yeah. And I found blue jeans. I was like, sweet. Mm-hmm. Wow, these fit great. Oh my gosh. I should buy 2 more of these because I just can't find these sort of things. And I grab another one off the shelf. It says the same exact thing, 33, 32. Cool, go put them on. I'm like, these don't fit. This is the same exact pair of pants. Same exact. But the person sewing that day was not sewing it the way they normally sew it.
Thrown in the wrong pile.
Exactly.
Like 44s, man. What the hell?
I just, it's got to fit.
So much room for activity.
It's got to fit in the legs. It's got to fit in the crotch. It's got to fit in the, the hamstring,
I don't
it's
own
tough for me to find a pair of pants. Let's just say that.
I don't own a pair, but I do want to check them out, and I just love the name of them. Is from Duluth Trading Company.
The fire hose pants.
No. the ballroom jeans.
Ah, the ballroom jeans.
And they're not talking dancing here.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
One of our friends at Reddick, I'll say it, who works with me down at CenturyLink, he
is this the dude that does the stretch? Like he does like exaggerated movements
sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, he bought a pair of fire hose pants, and he loves them.
Like they are
them.
like indestructible. Yeah.
Jinx.
Whale winks. All right. So how do we
whale winks?
My kids say it all the
What?
time.
Isn't it like Jinx, you owe me a Coke? Like Jinx, whale winks?
They're like 6 and 8, man. I mean,
if a whale winks at me, I'd be like, "Yo, awesome,
Moby, what's up?
What's up? High five, Z's."
Yeah.
Right. You just slapped me to the bottom of the abyss.
Yeah. That was a giant tail. It was not ready for that.
Exactly.
Oh man, where did we get off track here?
We did.
All right. So, trusted news sources. Do you remember investigative journalism?
Oh, I love when they actually did investigate things.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, here we have Mike McKnight investigates.
Yeah. Channel 6 News.
Absolutely. So why can't the regular news be more investigative like that?
Right.
I know it takes time.
Check out this story we uncovered.
It takes time. I get that. And you want to be first. I get that. But
what about 2 weeks, 3 weeks later when the actual story is like fermentating?
Did you ever see the movie Spotlight with Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
And it was all on the priests scandal in Boston and all that stuff.
Yep.
And they weren't like
they were literally
sitting
on the bottom floor of a place, and they were in a room investigating that.
Right, but so here's the thing.
That was a great movie, Spotlight.
It was.
Nice job.
It was.
Horrible movie.
And they were...
I mean, what
absolutely.
they were trying to investigate, it was horrible, but a great movie. Well put together.
Absolutely. And the thing that I like about it is they were investigative journalists, and they were like, we
got to uncover this story.
Yeah, well, this is going to blow the lid off of everybody, because Boston was a huge, at the time, and probably still, a huge Catholic town. And you blow this story, or you put this story out there, it better be spot on, 100% correct, because this is going to rock people's
the harbor down by the you go to your car and you go to the harbor.
That was terrible.
It's terrible.
You want to go up to harbor and beat up some smart kids?
Yeah. Anyway, I was just putting my accent on, right?
Yeah. Well, and I just went to Boston not too long ago, and what I noticed was there's not really a Boston accent. I know there are people that have that, but I didn't.
You were in the wrong part of Boston then.
I went all over. Well, I didn't get to Southie, but whatever. So
when we start traveling with this show, we'll go to Boston.
Yeah.
I'll show you what's up.
when you said when we start traveling, I just picture us with like briefcases full of equipment, like, hey,
I believe we've got 2 shows lined up in the next couple months that
we got to go somewhere.
So when we start traveling,
yes, yeah, we're gonna get there. So what can we do about this?
We're only an hour in.
We
still have a lot of things that we haven't even brushed on.
What do you want to talk about, Britt? Bring it up, because I've got
the weather guy.
Okay, what about him?
How come he gets to be wrong 50% of the time and still keeps his job? Right?
Well, okay, so like I lived in Virginia for like 5 years, and they can predict pretty accurately a week out. And I get
what?
Absolutely, pretty accurate. Oh, now you're on the coast, man. So I mean, they can look.
They
further.
can see it coming.
Right, exactly.
But with us here in Nebraska, coming over the Rockies, I can say 2 days out.
Yeah, but things happen over the Rockies, like, you know, depending on how much snowfall they had,
like
and
chemtrails. Were they not spraying 2 days ago, and now we have snow today? Government programs and stuff of that nature.
We could even say, how often the cows fart in, western Nebraska. Is the methane affecting the weather patterns?
Could be. You know what? It actually could be.
See, I mean, I'm telling you, there's a lot more. Whereas you're on the coast, I mean, it's coming in from the ocean. There's not a lot of
Appalachian Mountains.
Well, Appalachians are to the east of us, and that the weather usually comes from the west of us. You know, that whole El Nino.
Oh, I thought you said you were talking about the east.
Well, I was on the east coast, yes, but
yeah, so that'd be the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah, but have you been through the Appalachians? Yes, they're mountains.
Not very apple-y.
Not like the Rockies.
No, they are not.
Yeah,
but they're pretty to look at.
John Denver didn't write about the Appalachians.
No, he didn't. John Denver is full of crap.
Oh,
I thought the Rockies would be a lot more rockier than this. I actually watched that movie Dumb and Dumber the other day.
Okay. Our pop culture reference.
Right.
You got an extra pair of gloves this whole time? Yeah. We're in the Rockies. I'm going to kill you. Such a dumb, awesome movie.
Right. I hope you're not in the guest bathroom. Don't flush the toilet.
Jeez, that was a
horrible.
Oh boy.
Terrible. It's terrible.
It's more like
but yeah,
one in a million.
All right, so we literally just had a weather program here not too long ago. Event. But why are we naming hurricanes now? Like
we've been there naming them.
No. So, or not hurricanes.
Winter weather.
Winter weather.
The cold.
Exactly. Yeah. Why are we naming that now?
Because apparently they're happening so often.
It's an event.
Oh, well, okay. So if your job.
I meant we name hurricanes. Now we're naming other weather bad things.
I know, but they. There's another side topic on this, but the naming of the storms for me. It's not like they're giving credence to the storm, but it's just easier to, instead of saying the winter storm
that was on 1995.
Yeah, or the winter storm that happened January 23rd in the West Central Plains, or you could say, oh yeah, that was Winter Storm Charlie. Way easier. So it just makes it easier. And if it happens often enough,
I guess what I'm saying is, how come a storm hasn't been named after me yet?
Because they're on D, E, F now. I don't know, but they go alphabetically.
Niner in there where you're calling from a walkie-talkie.
Lots of people go to school for 10 years. Yeah, they're called doctors. Another pop culture reference there,
right?
But yeah, so the thing with the winter weather, we live in tornado country here in the Midwest, and what I find interesting is every time there's a tornado, there's new terminology that comes out. Like, remember
the vortex,
bow echo. I remember like we were sitting there watching this stuff, and he's like, and the bow echo over here, and then I was like,
what is a bow echo?
I've never heard that term in my life. And then like everybody was saying, oh, the bow echo here, and we're like. Yeah.
Is that like the boomerang effect?
Is this a new
when you send it out and it comes back to you?
The college for weather forecasters came out and said, we got a new terminology, we got to pump this out.
Right. I out of all the media that I get, I think the weather is the funniest. I mean, you might as well just have some chimpanzees in a room throwing darts at a dartboard. And you'd probably be right half the time.
At least here in the Midwest, it's like that. But let's say, okay, Britt, let's say your job 100% of the time is to deal with weather.
Okay.
How do you make it interesting? I mean, that's really, how do you, because.
Well, I here in, okay, so where you were living out in Virginia, cool, let's do a 5-day forecast.
When we're 7, yeah.
But when we're here in Omaha, Nebraska, I'd more do a 3-day forecast and just leave it at that. Leave it at that. I'm sorry, I can't predict more than 3 days out because it's just going to change. I could tell you that this weekend that's coming up is going to be nice. I could tell you that, but in 3 days, it's going to change.
Well, and I think here, if you live here for
you can it's Sunday now. Let's say next Saturday. Right now, the weather for next Saturday is a decent 40-degree weather day. But by tomorrow, it's going to be 50 degree. And by the next day, it's going to be 60 degree. And then the next day, it's going to be 30 degrees and flurry. Yeah, and flurrying. It's like, now I can't predict my weekend, And I know, just living here, I know I can't predict my weekend.
Right. And in the weather, or in the winter, I think it matters a little less. Because, like, if they predict snow and it doesn't happen, people are like, oh, okay, whatever. Other than teachers like, I was hoping for a snow day. But rain, if they predict,
I'm not looking for a snow day because
you're not a teacher.
Well, my child and I pay for school.
I know.
My child is this month of January. There's 13 days that he goes to school. That's a typical month is 13 days because he just goes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and this month right now he's on day number 5. And I still have to pay the same exact amount of money. And I'm like, wait a minute, he's only gone half this month. Mm-hmm. Oh, but you still owe us that money.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
We still
what?
we
Hang
still
on a
have
second.
teachers to pay. Still got to pay them
Yeah,
teachers.
but they weren't there. They were never in class.
They're still earning a paycheck.
I understand. I completely understand. It's just
I know. I get it. I get it.
every
But-
day they call off school, or every day they're like, "Oh, we've got another day off." I'm like, "Great." What am I paying for?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then there's the when school gets canceled for other kids, and you got
Oh yeah, they follow the OPS line.
yeah, and when parents you have two parents that have careers.
Oh yeah,
How's that happen?
really screws everything up.
I know, but
Then that's another thing. I mean, now that we're on the weatherman's,
we are way off media topic, but
no,
okay.
we are, because weather is media. I mean, you get it from your news source.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the vast people out there would say, I mean, yeah, it's weather, it's different, and
But
we
it's
hate the
media
weather.
related.
It's
You
on
get that from the news.
right, but there's no. I don't know that there's a slant to. There's not a bias to.
2 weeks ago, they called school off, and nothing happened. But they called it off for the sheer fact that parents have jobs the next day, and it's Monday. It's a Sunday going into a Monday, and now you got to find sitters and all that stuff. So they were like, you know what, we're gonna call it. We're gonna scratch it.
That was because it was like below 0 and 50-mile-an-hour winds, and they were
Yeah, but then come Monday, it was fine.
no, no, we had a blizzard here. But now we didn't have what was up north and south of us.
Not last week. 2 weeks ago.
Oh, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. No, they called off school. It was,
I thought that was
I
for
had
the
to go to work at 6:30 in the morning, and it was fine.
I thought that was just the cold.
But by like 9, it was a little treacherous at 9 because it got colder and the winds blew in. But by at 9, they'd all be at school, and by 2:30 in the afternoon, everything was fine.
Yeah, but you have sub-zero temperatures with 50-mile-an-hour winds. And you got kids at bus stops waiting. I mean, that's
Not at 9 because they'd be at school already.
but this happened earlier. I mean, they're
Anyway,
yeah,
weather's horrible.
we're picking straws here. So, so how do we solve? Or do you have more?
I have one more thing.
All right, one more. What do you got?
Gun violence.
Okay, what about it?
So there was a news article that came out. More gun equals more killing.
Okay,
So that story was just stretched out of control.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, more guns, more killing. Brian, that is a media slam in itself. That is it. That's a. Why should I watch this story? Why should I look at this story?
Mm-hmm.
No, more guns doesn't equal more killing. We're actually right now living in the safest time that we've ever lived in. If you want to talk about gun violence, you go look at 1970, 1960. They had more gun violence back then than they do now. Guaranteed.
okay, all right.
Guaranteed.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say to you. I equate that to the articles that say SUV kills a family of 4. Wait a minute, the SUV did? Like it drove itself?
Dad just said that tonight, and it was hilarious. He's like, you take away the guns, that's fine. But they're look in France.
Mm-hmm.
They used a truck.
Well, and I just saw an article today that said America has a gun problem. Wait a minute.
We don't have a gun problem.
We have a people with guns problem, but
But people aren't doing anything with those guns.
Yeah.
They're just protecting themselves.
yeah. And I live in a split household where my wife and I completely disagree. But I was also in the military. She was not, and she. Yeah, we're not going to get into that whole thing, but I think that the media, they're trying to teach you the way to think, and I think that the whole way the whole title is phrased or the article is phrased is going to put the slant on whatever they want in there. I'm going to agree with you.
It's an agenda.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, if they want you to think that guns are the end of the world, they're going to promote the heck out of we need to take guns away.
Yeah, because if you have a unarmed populace, then whatever.
But, but you can go ahead and look at an article about Australia.
We're getting into politics on this. I don't want to get into the politics.
You can go into Australia and see that they took the guns away from Australians and how bad it got, and then they just gave them back, and they were like, okay, well, you guys actually need these guns because you got terrorized as a population because the people who shouldn't have guns actually have guns now, and you guys don't because we took away from you.
Yeah, well, and again, each country is unique and different in their populace and the way people react to certain things, and it's not...
Watch the news that works for you.
Well, no. I'm going to say no to that, because I watch the news that doesn't work for me, because I know the news that works for me.
I look at both sides of the coin. Like we started this whole program out. Mm-hmm. We look at both sides of the coin. Make sure that you're getting well informed on both sides of the situation.
Right, and that leads us in how do we solve this?
Perfect. I like it. Now we can go there.
All right, so I would say step one, public opinion works both ways. So the media uses public opinion in their favor. What if the public opinion is against the media themselves? Can we... Well, if the media uses it...
I think the media uses a scare tactic right now.
It's like a propaganda thing.
You're watching the news, Channel 6 News. You could be eating something that's killing you. Check it out at 5. Yeah. It's like, wait.
Is it peas?
Is it corn? I don't want to eat it.
Yeah.
That brings me on to something I was actually just looking at the other day. And they did high fructose corn syrup, and then they labeled it corn syrup underneath it. And you're like, well, okay, so it's two different ingredients, high fructose corn syrup and corn syrup. Well, if you add those two together, as in high fructose corn syrup and corn syrup, it'd actually be on the top. It's like, wait a minute, you're suggesting that there's less in this thing, but you labeled it two different things, so it's lower on the totem pole. Yeah, and I'm eating it.
Your number one and number two ingredient are high fructose corn syrup and...
it was actually number 3 and number 4.
Oh, okay.
But if you put the two together, it'd actually be number 1.
Yeah, wow.
Fake news.
Let's see. Back to public opinion.
Sorry,
that helps us hold them accountable. We can hold the media themselves accountable. So if we... Now there's blogs out there, and there's people out there that are on Fox News, CNN, and all that stuff, writing stories on these situations of news and all that stuff. Right. But it's really sorely underwritten, and nobody sees it. Right. And I do caution against just dismissing... There are internet trolls out there that do their thing. Right. And hey, I'm all for them. Some preach the word. Some want to get the real story out there. Some just want to watch the world burn. And some want to do that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But we can hold the media accountable by public opinion. Not that I want to dismiss everything that the media is saying, but if we hold them accountable, you guys, you're not really putting out good material here. You're just kind of saying the same thing everybody else is saying. Could you actually do some journalism, like some true journalism? Well, we can see it right when we were talking about the newspapers. Mm-hmm. They come out with a 2-page article about this crazy story and all that stuff, and they might have hit it a little wrong. Mm-hmm. So 2 weeks later, there's a column on page 14 that nobody reads. It's the same. Yeah, they apologize, and they're like, no, we were totally wrong in this situation. But instead of making it a frontline article like, no, we screwed up, this is the real story. Well, that's because the frontline articles, that's like headline news. Right. So. But they don't want to talk about headline news 2 weeks later. Right. Because it's old news now. Well, and that kind of leads into it's really going to be an effort on your part. You're going to have to check multiple news sources on those. And, do your own research. Right. And that also includes ones that differ from your opinion and agree with your opinion. So I like to equate it like... the analytics of Google search. Google knows what you're searching. Google knows what you visit, the sites that you visit. Yeah. When we get off the show, I'm going to show you something. Yeah. I also have a story for you after we close out. I will tell the viewing audience how to delete their Google history. Yeah. And it's not the way you would think it would be. I have a really crazy story for you when this. All right. Fair enough.
I found out.
Sorry, folks. We're gonna.
I found out that my SIM card goes all the way back to 2011.
Well, we've talked about that one before already.
Nope.
Well,
this is new.
Oh, this is the. Oh, okay.
Completely new.
All right. Anyway, you want to not only check your sources, but you want to check sources that don't agree with you, because people tend to find, and this goes to your Google search.
It's both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
I want to listen to why they aren't agreeing with me. I want to watch that. Why do they say that they don't agree with me?
I actually watched...
Because I have this point of view, and this is where I'm stuck at. Well, show me your side. You might sway me.
Right. And I actually... So, I actually just watched David Letterman's new show on Netflix.
I didn't even know he had one.
Yeah, it's brand new. It's only got one episode down.
Perfect.
And it's... I think it's titled... My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. And his first guest...
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. His first guest was Barack Obama.
Perfect.
Which was actually really...
He needs no introduction.
No, and it was a really cool episode. And they had talked about...
How they went windsurfing?
Well, he did talk about that, yes. But,
oh, wow. Cool. It's like I watched it, but I didn't.
They talked about doing a search. And there's a guy on the internet. Take three separate people from all different backgrounds.
This dude.
Well, okay. So you have someone that leans left, you have someone that leans right, and you have someone in the middle.
Yeah. I'm the middle guy.
Right. So the person that leans...
I'm the buffer.
The person that leans left, you tell them, go to Google and search Egypt. So the guy that leans left searches Egypt, and he
clicks the first link.
Tiananmen Square that happened in...
Yeah.
He
clicks
Egypt.
the second link.
Right. And then if you lean right, then he puts in Egypt, and he gets Arab Spring. And then if you are in the middle, then it's vacation spots along the Nile. You know, it's depending on what you view is what
you just led me into why I need to tell you this sort of thing.
Yeah. So that's going to be the biggest problem is the internet is tracking you. No matter what search engine you do, it's tracking you.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
You've led me into the greatest conversation piece I'm doing right now.
So you have to be really careful of this as the articles that you're seeing.
All right. So Brian has led me into the topic that
the theory portion.
No, it's not theory. It's not at all theory, Brian. This is 100% true fact. So everyone who owns an Android phone can do this right now. Mm-hmm. Press the little button that says, Google search, and you can voice it, and all you got to do is in your little Google spacebar, just say dog or cat or whatever you want to say. And it doesn't bring up Google, or it doesn't bring up Chrome. It brings up Google searches. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, when you say dog, cat, whatever, car, house, bacon, whatever, you can say anything you want to say. It comes up in this like web browser-esque area. And in the bottom right-hand corner, there's 3 little dashes, not dots, but dashes in the bottom right-hand corner of your phone. You click on that 3 little dashes on that bottom corner of your phone, and it comes up with your profile, as in BrittRoder@gmail.com. That's me.
Email him now.
You can email me now. Absolutely, you can email me now. BrittRoder@gmail.com. I'm the one that's got it, because that's who I am. Anyway, in that profile setting, there is a settings button. As soon as you click on that settings button, it brings up a whole list of events. One of those events is called Your Feed. You click on Your Feed, and about 3 or 4 or 5 down, it says your history of your card. Your card's history. I clicked on that the other day because I was on YouTube, and it was all like, you should really check this out. Mm-hmm. I clicked on that, and it went all the way back to 2011. And it had everything that I researched. It had everything that I said through Google Voice. It had everything of a text message. It had every app usage, what I did on all those apps. Now, granted, the things inside of that, the text messages, when I clicked on text messages, it had, you made 7 text messages on 2014 of April 7th. Well, cool. It says that I did 7. And then I click on it. It just takes me to my messages. Well, if I am Google Mr. Administrator, I could probably view those text messages. But I'm just the proprietary phone user of the thing. But I'm pretty much guaranteed that it would just show you whatever that is. This is how they're collecting all the information about you everywhere, anywhere. I was able to, as soon as I get into... a manage history of card is what it's called. Manage history of card. I went in there and I said delete. Up in the top right-hand corner, there's 3 dashes. You press that button. You can say delete history of card. I went in there. I went delete history of card, and then it gave me a time frame of what time frame do you want to delete. Go to all time and delete it. Now my Google history... Now my history of my phone has been deleted. And now I'm going to start checking that once a week and figuring out what they're watching. I have nothing. I'm not searching anything. I'm not trying to blow up anything. You know, I'm not the guy that is harmful to society. But there's no reason for them to have that information out there because they're going to market me to that.
Are you trying to lead into the next time?
I kind of might be.
Yeah,
I kind of might be.
Yeah. So next week we're going to talk about the
marketing.
Yeah.
And, ups and downs of marketing.
Yeah. The reason, and I shared a little story with Britt, and the reason we're going to get into it next week. I was out. We were doing a little shopping with my daughter. We were looking for some earrings, and some of the earrings that I saw, I was like, "Is that?" And it was the poop emoji. And everybody that's done emojis.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were telling me about that before the show started.
So everybody knows what the poop emoji is, but this was like there was a pink one and there's one with glitter on it, and this one's a rainbow color, and I'm like, okay, they are literally selling us crap. Like literally, this is the poop emoji. So yeah, I told Britt, I said we need to look into marketing because people are just literally marketing us crap right now. And so that's going to be next week's topic.
So next week's topics, we're going to have the Barley Boys on. Amy and her family have this little brewery called the Barley Boys, and they're here from Omaha, Nebraska, and we're going to be talking about their brewery and drinking on their beers and talking about
going to have
marketing.
Some homebrew.
Some homebrew.
Nice.
Which they're working on, getting it out there to the public. And in fact, you can have it in the public. Every Sunday they do brew days, and you can go out there for their brew days.
Nice.
Yeah, which is in their garage.
All right. Is there anything that you want to end on that? I pretty much had
Yeah, no. I mean, we've hit our marker. We're all into it, but
we're good. Now that you had your rant.
Brian,
it's fine.
You know I could go for days upon days about how media affects our lives and how
it does.
It frays people's lives.
It forms our opinions.
Exactly. And you don't know that it's forming your opinion because you're watching it and then you're like, no, they're right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you just got that off of CNN, and CNN says, well, this is the way you should think. Mm-hmm. And now you start thinking like that. That's a horrible way of thinking.
And the mindset that I have is like, if I come across
But don't get me wrong. If you want to listen to CNN, that's fine. That's your business.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to watch Fox News, that's your business. But I'm just saying that you shouldn't rely on those media sources because both those two identities, even though I love one more than the other, are sculpting your mind to the way you should think.
Yeah, and I'm going to caution you there. I mean, you're going a little extreme on that. I'm going to caution you on that because the minute we start dismissing the media as a whole, that's when we're going to have some major problems. Because
absolutely. There should be news sources out there. There should be, and that's where you should get your news.
Right, exactly. That's not state run.
Yeah.
So I would say I would change the way you think. If you see something out there and you're like, wow, that's
things that make you go,
or that's really messed up, or wow, that's an interesting opinion.
No way that could be that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the other way. You just don't know.
And unfortunately, it's going to rest on you to do some extra research to say, why is that? Why do they think that way? Why is this article coming up?
Why does the president want to focus his energy on this?
Yeah. Do your own research on it. And unfortunately, it's going to take some time on your part, but that's the world we live in. We have so much information at our disposal that you got to be careful as to what you digest.
You know, I like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, I'm really avid towards free media and them not charging me anything to view their media.
Hence the podcast.
Yeah, we're not charging you guys to listen to us. Maybe down the road, because we actually do have after talk podcasts and all that sort of stuff. And if you come on our show, maybe you bring beer and we'll charge you for that. But I mean, that's a whole nother ballgame.
We're not going to charge them for that if they bring it. just bring it.
Well, it costs them money, I guess.
Yeah.
We wouldn't charge it. Yeah. All right. Sorry.
You misspoke.
I misspoke there. But, you know, question things.
Yeah.
That's a good way to say it. Question things.
Right. Why does that person believe what they believe? Why are they saying what they're saying? Why do I find so much interest into this article? Why did this strike a chord with me? What's on the other side of that coin?
You know, I'll probably trust local media over national media.
Right, but the local media isn't probably going to be as far-reaching.
Yeah, there's no bias to them, though.
Well,
you know,
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to go that far.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can't speak for them. You're right. I can't speak for them.
Yeah. But
they may have an agenda that we don't know about.
Right, exactly. So that's pretty much all we got to say on this. Is unfortunately, how do we solve this problem?
Do your research.
Yeah. So we've been talking on the Media Slam. We've been talking about how we perceive and receive information.
Nice job, Media Slam or Hopslam. Nice job, Bells. They, like I said, the 6-packs are a little expensive, but if you enjoyed a 6-pack, you might as well buy just the keg.
Can you tell me how much the keg was? Or do you want to put that
$40
for 5 liters?
Yeah, $40.
That's really not bad.
No, it's not bad.
No. So, and it was damn good.
Yeah,
really.
And those who are watching via live video, we kind of taped an ice pack to the back, you know, just to keep it cold, keep it running.
Yeah,
because we didn't want to be in and out of the fridge the whole time. We wanted it to sit right here on the counter so that everybody
in
can
front
watch
of the view. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And it was easy to open, easy to use.
Yeah. You first just lift this up and you twist it. And
did we even get through like a third of this? I mean,
oh no, I'm not even half gone.
Oh yeah,
not even half gone.
I would say. So what would you say? Good for 6 people?
There were some people I invited, but never showed up today, which is fine.
We're not going to name names.
Which is fine. With the show, we try to invite more people than none, and whoever shows up.
Stimulates the conversation.
Exactly. The more people we've got, the more conversation we got. But Brian and I sitting by ourselves, I mean, just 2 guys, an hour and a half, no big deal. But yeah, this would definitely be good for 8 people. For sure.
Well, it depends on the people.
It's 37 cups of beer.
37 cups, really?
Yeah.
5 liters?
5 liters, if you divide and add, and the way we're drinking them.
Carry to 2.
The way we're drinking them, we're not having full glasses.
And these are the glasses they recommend.
Exactly. So, if you do the glasses they recommend, it's about 37, maybe 40 glasses. So, I mean, you definitely 8, 9 people would take that out, no problem. Okay. We haven't even done half of this yet. Well, maybe half. Close to half.
Okay. All right. Well, either way, 6 to 8 people.
Yeah,
we'll go with that.
4 to 5.
4 to 5.
4 to 5 people.
Yep. We've been drinking.
Did you say 45 people or 4 or 5 people?
4 to 5 people. Yeah.
That's Swedish talk for you.
It is. We've been drinking on the Hopslam from Bells Brewing Company out of Michigan. We have been talking on the media. We're doing a Media Slam.
Media Slam.
Drinking the Hopslam.
Bam.
Da, da, da,
bam.
Da, da, da.
Bam.
My name is Brian.
I'm Britt.
Thank you for joining us. And join us next week as we talk about marketing.
All right.